Who doesn't love child labor? Who? Let me know if you are anti child labor. My fucking camera just will not focus. It's really annoying. So, Florida has recently rolled back child labor laws to deal with filling jobs once held by undocumented migrants. We've seen this issue play out all across the country. It happened in Georgia a couple years ago. It happened actually in Florida when they introduced legislation similar to the one in Georgia, which basically would have fined employers for hiring undocumented migrants, something that is actually already illegal, but would have cracked down on it. There were estimates that Florida's economy would have lost a couple $1 billion. Some of their key industries would have been hit, like construction and agriculture. So now, since mass deportation is hitting every type of immigrant, regardless of, their status or even like their criminality or not, because yeah, obviously the fucking barber, the gay barber who was just deported to El Salvador, is a hardened criminal because he had a fucking autism awareness tattoo. I believe that was him. I might be mixing him up with someone else, and if I am, I apologize, but ICE has a quota, and they have to deport 1,200 people a day. So obviously, innocent people, 99.99999% of them, are going to get wrapped up in this fishnet. Now, Florida is being hit quite hard by this, and that's why they are considering making changes to child labor laws that would loosen restrictions on when and how long teens can work as the state braces for a shortage of migrant workers under GOP-led immigration crackdowns. A state Senate panel narrowly advanced a proposal Tuesday to eliminate regulations that bar 16 and 17-year-olds from working jobs before 6:30 a.m. or after 11 p.m. on school days, working more than 8 hours on school days, and working more than 30 hours a week while in school. The proposal would also end a requirement that teens receive at least a 30-minute meal break when they work 8-hour shifts. Additionally, it would eliminate some restrictions on employing 14 and 15-year-olds who are homeschooled or enrolled in virtual schools. Now, I don't inherently have an issue with teens working. I myself started working when I was about 15. I think that in the right circumstance, it does provide, good life skills. And of course, having a little bit of extra money in your pocket is great as well. Like even if it's like $80, like $80 to a 14-year-old is a fucking lot, or a 15-year-old is a fucking lot. But child labor laws exist for a reason. They exist to protect minors from the predatory business. And if these labor laws did not exist, the businesses would 1,000,000% take advantage of these children. If any of you work in an industry, like if you work in hospitality, like you work in a restaurant, you've almost certainly encountered like a host who's 16 or 17. They're like a junior, senior in high school, where their schedule is made based on the child labor laws because the business does not want a labor violation against them. Eliminating these restrictions basically allows the business owner to do whatever they want with a fucking child during the school year. A separate measure advancing in the state house would allow teens who are employed as interns or trainees to be paid below the state's $13 an hour minimum wage. Oh, that's sick, actually. Wow, that's so fucked up. Which is set to increase to 15 next year. They're just trying to get additional means of cheap labor. It's literally how child labor functioned in the early 1900s. You have like, this is a ridiculous precedent to set. To even have a sub minimum wage for like servers or bartenders or tipped employees is fucking insane. But to then extend a sub minimum wage to a fucking teenager is also equally insane, because they're only going to reduce the sub minimum wage even further. The Tallahassee Democrat reported that supporters of the changes say that the measures will give teens experience and skills that will help them later in life. Opponents argue that the bills promote child exploitation and could affect their schooling. Although I do think that it's fine for children to go out and get a job voluntarily, that's only if they want to get a job. If they want to go out and work, and if their parents are okay with that, because ultimately at the end of the day, Like, if you're a 14, 15, 16-year-old, you have other things that you could be doing. Like, you should seriously cherish these years that you have. And even when children do have jobs, even if they do have an after school job, that changes depending on like the sports that they do. I remember when I was working during basketball season, like you'd only work 1 or 2 days because you'd be practicing 5, 6 days a week. Like you didn't have time after school. You didn't have time on Saturdays because it was typically game day. So you'd either work Saturday night or Sunday. But even then, just like going out and being a kid, like going out riding your bike around the neighborhood, going out and, just like hanging out at the park, or just even like fucking playing video games after school. Like there are infinitely better things that children should be doing than working, even if it does give them life skills. I do think that at the end of the day, children should be allowed to be children and allowed to have fun after school. Florida has been facing a steep shortage of workers. According to figures from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, there are about 53 available workers for every 100 open jobs in the state. Ron DeSantis, who unsuccessfully sought the GOP's presidential nomination, signed a law in 2023 aimed at cracking down on immigration in the state by punishing employers who hire undocumented workers. Florida also prevents local governments from providing driver's licenses to undocumented people. I do also believe that there was a clause where if you transported an undocumented immigrant over state lines, you would be charged with human trafficking. But this was the law that I mentioned in the beginning of this segment, where Florida anticipated that they would have lost not only a sizable they would have lost billions of dollars off of their GDP, but they also would have lost valuable tax revenue as well, because as we know, undocumented immigrants pay into state income tax. They pay taxes. There's no other way to get around it. The state and the local municipalities would have lost a considerable amount of revenue from this bill. Opponents of the legislation raised concerns about the impact on the state's major industries, including tourism, agriculture, and construction, rely on immigrant labor. During a recent immigration-focused discussion with President Donald Trump's border ogre Tom Homan at the New College of Florida in Sarasota, DeSantis offered up the idea of teens filling the gaps left by undocumented workers. They said, "Oh, you're not going to be able to hire people or whatever," said DeSantis. "What's wrong with expecting like our young people to be working part-time now? I mean, like that's how it used to be when I was growing up." Yeah, Ron, except guess what? They can still fucking work. They just can't be overly exploited by their employer. You're saying that teens can work 8-hour days on a school day after they already spend 8 hours in school. How do you expect that to work? You're saying that they can work beyond 11 p.m. on school nights. They can do that in the summer. Like there's already an avenue for the fucking boss to exploit this child. And you're also saying that they can be paid sub-minimum wage. I do not see how fucking ridiculous this is. He specifically pointed to the sprawling resorts that dot the Florida coastlines as providing a money-making opportunity for teens. Why do we say we need to import foreigners when, teenagers used to work at these resorts? College students should be. It's like you go $30,000 in debt. You just take loans. You're not expected to work at all. I think the priorities have been jumbled. And I think there's absolutely people that would be able to do that. Oh my God. Like, oh man, he's so fucking annoying. Several states, including Arkansas and Iowa, have sought to roll back youth labor laws in recent years, citing work shortages. There was also, I believe, a Hyundai plant in Alabama that got busted for hiring like a 12 or 13-year-old. No. Child labor laws are currently fine where they are. It is okay to limit a child's workday to 4 hours after they get out of school. It's okay to only allow them to work like 15 hours a week during the school year. It's okay that they can't even be employed in certain industries during the school year. This is fine. The fucking system that we exist in is already exploitative enough on these children's parents. These kids should not be subject to the same fucking stress and to the same fucking bullshit that their parents deal with. They have literally their entire fucking lives to get fucked by the system. It doesn't need to start when they're 14. Just let these children be children. And if they want to make a little bit of money, that's fine. But don't allow these companies to make them work 8 hours after school for fucking $8 an hour. Like, are you fucking insane?